correct. The dialogue between the three took place at the National Assembly and came to a close just about a little under an hour ago. And Monday's meeting was a landmark event because it was actually the first time a sitting president had visited the National Assembly for the purpose of holding talks with the heads of the rival parties in hopes of breaking a political deadlock.
That's right, we're having a lot of first times here. To find out what was discussed at the three-way talks, let's go over to our political correspondent Kim Yeon-ji, who is standing by at the National Assembly. Hey Yeon-ji, tell us about the main talking points today.
Yes, Daniel, we have yet to hear from the ruling Saenuri Party about the issues they brought up at the talks with the president. But we do know that they lasted for more than an hour, which is longer than originally planned. We are getting reports that the ruling party did focus on the livelihood issues, as it had mentioned it would do so before the meeting. Coming out of the talks, ruling party leader Hwang Woo-yeol told reporters that they discussed a range of issues and that he expects positive outcomes because President Park talked to the opposition party leader with sincerity. But Democratic Party leader Kim Yeon-ji told reporters right after the meeting that he did tell the president everything, but he said, quote-unquote, there were no right answers. Now, as for the main opposition Democratic Party, leaders reportedly made very specific requests to President Park about reforming the spy agency, which stands accused of meddling in last year's presidential election through an online smear campaign against opposition candidates. First, the opposition party leader told President Park that the National Assembly should be in charge of reforming the National Intelligence Service. Now, this proposal is at odds with the stance President Park has taken regarding the issue. She had previously ordered the NIS to come up with reform plans on its own. The opposition party also asked the president to lay out how she intends to address this issue before the Chuseok holiday, which begins this Wednesday. Democratic Party leader Kim Yeon-ji also asked President Park to offer a public apology for the spy agency's interference in last year's presidential election, not because she had ordered them to do so, but because the case tainted the nation's constitution and democracy.
Now, Yeon-ji, those are very, very specific requests made by the main opposition. Now, what else was discussed during this, I believe, 90-minute talks?
As expected, the Democratic Party also brought up the issue of Prosecutor General Choi Dong-uk's sudden resignation last Friday. The opposition party leader is quoted as saying that there is evidence that the presidential office pulled strings to take him down because it was unhappy with the prosecution's investigation into the spy agency scandal. Democratic Party leader Kim Yeon-ji also expressed concerns that the nation's efforts to promote fair business practices and advance welfare policies may be slowing down. The opposition party also said the nation should retract tax cuts for the rich.
Okay, so a lot has been covered today, but Yeon-ji, what's in progress right now as we speak?
Yes, Daniel. After seeing the president off, the leaders of the rival parties came together to draft a joint statement. The two parties are expected to disclose this statement soon at the National Assembly separately. Some sources say forming a special parliamentary committee for the reform of the spy agency will be included in the joint statement. The ruling Saenuri Party will have its own briefing about today's meeting at 6:30 p.m. Here at the National Assembly. And the main opposition Democratic Party has convened an all-member meeting of its lawmakers to discuss their next move now that the talks is over. It remains to be seen whether today's talks satisfy both the ruling and main opposition parties and whether the Democratic Party will wrap up its outdoor protests and get back to devoting all its energy to parliamentary business. Back to you guys.
All right, that was Arirang's Kim Yeon-ji reporting live on the president's talks with the leaders of the rival political parties at the National Assembly, and we'll have the updates for you on those talks in our later newscast.